You can feel free to pose onto this.
So thank you for indulging me in these questions. So I just want to say before we start, this was all shot here in Guyana. The only crew that I brought was my camera person from Los Angeles and my sound person, and I had two students who were at University of Guyana to be production assistants, and I found some kids hanging out in the streets, and I taught them the basics of filmmaking, and we all kind of did it together. It's a collaboration, and I'm really proud of what we see. So.
Yeah, how did you find Malachi and the woman that played his grandmother?
How did I find Malachi? In Border Market. I was hanging out and I saw this kid running around. I thought he'd be great for the film. And so I just made a note. And then I went to, my mother was here with me. And then I went to, it turns out that he knows my mother's best friend, who was a school teacher. He came by the house the same day. So I was able to kind of pass them, yeah.
And his grandmother.
Pardon? Oh, and Marjorie. So Marjorie, Marjorie, the woman that played the grandmother. She's a friend of my mother, and that's actually her godson. And they live in Kitty. So I was able to kind of work with them, naturally. So I actually wrote a script for the film, but when I came to Guyana, I didn't give them a script. I just presented what the scenes would be, and kind of had them be themselves to make it happen. For the feature film, we're going to do a bit more. The feature film is going to be much longer. Taking up a lot more social issues, a lot more themes. It's going to get deeper into the characters, deeper into Guyana. We're going to go into the Kaitra Falls, and so it's going to be a lot more involved. And to do that, it takes more budget. So we're hoping to kind of cast, have a bigger cast and have more locations.
So will you use them again?
I'm not. Malachi is now this tall, so so we're gonna. I'm trying to find. We're doing castings to find a local young actors, and actually Malachi's friend is going to be an Indo-Guyanese boy. It's going to be it's a whole more involved script.
So it's a completely different story.
Yeah, it's the same story, but the story is about life in Guyana. This kid who realizes that his life in Guyana is great, and doesn't understand why he has to leave because he's so taking care of his grandmother and doesn't understand what life is like in America. So it's the same story. However, we're going to add a little bit more, some more time in Guyana, because I think the feedback we got from playing the film internationally is everyone wanted to know more about this country. They wanted to know what was the food she was making. They wanted to know what else can they see. They wanted to know why was there only 2 birds, and are there more birds there? Is there more trees? Like they want to see the seawall.
Yeah.
We want to get aerial shots.
It was sort of tantalizing actually.
Yeah,
the seawall was very tantalizing. You're thinking, well, why would we see more of that?
Yes.
And because it's called Seawall,
Right.
you imagine it
Right.
feature more in the story.
Absolutely. And so there's actually in the film there's only one shot of the seawall, and the seawall in the film is symbolic for what it's a separation between Guyana and what we call the outside and the rest of the world. And so Marjorie, the older character, sometimes feels like she's here and trapped in this, and it separates us from the rest of the world. So in the feature we plan to spend more time in the seawall. Malachi's going to be the seawall more and show more the history of why the seawall is there, and get more into Marjorie's character about what was the seawall like back in the day, back in the 50s and the 40s when it was a beautiful place to go and things like that.
Very tantalizing.
Very tantalizing.
Yeah, absolutely. It made you want to see more. So if the idea was to whet our appetites, you did it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Apart from Guyana, which other film inspired you to make this short film? Which film did you see?
Apart from Guyana, what other film inspired me?
Apart from Guyana being a main inspiration.
I'm a huge fan of. There's an Indian filmmaker. His name is Sajid Ray, and he made films in the 1950s, and they were all based in India, in his town, right? And he's one of the world's canonized filmmakers, recognized by Cannes and all the Venice International Festival, and he just made films about kids growing up in their villages in India, and he sort of put India on the world map by showing just his slice of life. So I'm influenced by his films. It's called the Apu trilogy, and another filmmaker that I love is an Iranian filmmaker. His name is Abbas Kiarostami, And he wrote a small film in the 80s called Where's My Friend's Home? And it's the same thing about a little boy in school, sort of like showing you his world, showing you his village in Iran. And he's made all of his films in Iran, and Iran last year won the Oscar. And so it was a big celebration for that country to have the Iranian filmmaker win an Oscar. So my goal, I'm being a little ambitious, and I'm hoping to get the support, is that Guyana, we can create a quality film, right, with all the elements of the country and the characters, with the cinematic style that's recognized by Cannes and Venice Film Festival in Toronto, to be in that category of the Oscars. So Abbas Kiarostami represented the country, Sajid Ray. There's some amazing Argentinian filmmakers who are on the map, and I think I'm really inspired to work more with Cine Guyana and build our, the Guyanese film community. I mean, we're close to 50 years, right? 50 years of independence, and I think that the world is ready to see us, to see our stories. So that inspires me.
Hey, you said that you went with the script, but you didn't use the script too much with the actors. I know you don't always get the movie that you intend
Right.
to when you start out, but were there any gems that kind of appeared from that process as opposed to following the script? Like anything that the actors just brought that you hadn't anticipated?
I think just the nuances of just the culture. Like I admit, I've been away from Guyana a long time, and I've been back for a while now, and there's just things in the culture that I'm disconnected from because I live in America. So having Guyanese actors, Guyanese people, just the nuances of the culture and the coconut water, and just everything, all the textures that you couldn't write in a script. And the goal for the feature film that we're working on is that we want to cast local people, and so we will have scenes where they're almost improvised. It looks like a documentary to get some of the essence out of the real nuanced texture of the culture. Because honestly, the truth of the matter is, a lot of people aren't aware of just what I see as the beauty of this country, and it's a straight up fact. A lot of people aren't aware of food and the culture and the history and the culture. They just don't know. And unfortunately, it's, on the other side of the seawall, we're dominated by the image of Jim Jones. People say Jim Jones, and it just breaks my heart, and I felt like I was the only person in France, presenting this film on a huge stage and explaining that I want to do more. So that inspired me to go back to the drawing board, got some investors to start to make a bigger film, to incorporate a bigger theme. And the great news is that it took me $20,000 US to make this film. I raised it through a fiscal sponsor, an organization called FROG, Friends and Returned Peace Corps Volunteers of Guyana. They were all ex-Peace Corps volunteers that went back to the US and started a non-for-profit to raise money to donate to different organizations in Guyana. And so I raised $20,000 to make the film. The good news is that I won $20,000 in awards. I won an award from Sony Pictures to continue to work on this project. And I won another award from an organization from my college. So I made the money back, and now the goal is to raise more money to make a bigger film, a better film, and have more awards.
On behalf of someone that is a little shy, we want to know if in the feature film you would also showcase not only what we call the Creole or part of Guyana, but the cultural part of Guyana.
Yes, that's a great question, and that was something that came up, because I think in talking about Guyana and the world stage, a lot of people didn't realize that there's 6 nationalities and there are different cultures. There's Indian culture. People had no idea. So generally, in the feature, I'm sort of being a little bit strategic about it. So Malachi's friend, which is my friend, I grew up in Campbellville, and my friend was Indo-Guyanese boy, so his friend is going to be that. We're gonna touch on some social issues. With we know that in the Caribbean in diaspora, there are issues, as much as we hate to talk about some social issues against violence against women and children. So there's going to be some of that in there, just to kind of, it's a feature film, so there has to be conflict, there has to be drama, and I think we want to create a space for dialogue about stuff that affects all of us on some level. So there will be that, and the Malachi's father will be in the film, and he's a gold miner in the interior, so we'll be going to the interior and seeing part of the Amerindian culture, and just seeing just what that means, the sacrifice of the father going away, and so there'll be a lot more textures, a lot more characters, and a lot more textures, and a lot more locations in the film. So yes, if that answers the question.
Yes.
So it's a quiet room. Anyone? Can I ask a question? Anyone sort of didn't because the feedback is great for me. I like to hear, because this film is not just about me. I mean, it's about us. Right, and so I'm here now. I'm staying for a few weeks to work on the script and just location scout, because I want to get the true story. Because I don't want to be the only person speaking about this. I want to make sure that it's coming from us. So if anyone has a question about something that you didn't quite understand or stood out to you, I would love to. This is an opportunity to speak, so I can hear, so I can make a film that's truthful and that represents all of us. So I'm also open to that. Yes.